Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Europa Universalis 5 as we're playing as England. So one thing we haven't really looked at much in this Let's Play is the subject actions, which we're going to do this through here, just so we have a larger screen. So this is where you would seed an individual location or an entire province if you didn't want to sell it to them to get the money. I don't really see any reason not to sell it to them as long as they have the money available, because it's free money for you. But if you just wanted to grant it to them, you can do that through here. You can also demand that they change their court language or change a policy, change up their status. You can have them divert trade so that 50% of their trade advantage and trade capacity would go to you. However, with many of these actions or demands that you can take, they do have a penalty that will reduce your subjects' loyalty, since obviously they're not happy about the demands you're making on them. You can force them to embargo a rival. This one here is what we'll be looking at here in a minute, but we'll go through the rest of these. You can enforce your culture on them. So in this case, it would force them to be English. So we could do that, say, on Normandy, if we wanted to, and make them adopt English culture. Overall, to be a negative for your subject in that case, since the primary culture would not match the culture of all their people. But it does result in a small number of their people becoming your primary culture. So it's one way to spread your culture, but as you see, it does have a huge cost in liberty desire. And like I said, it's also going to cause some problems for your subject. You can press sellers, so this results in them giving you some sellers based on how many they would have. So with Durham here, we're not going to get very many. You can pay off any debts they have, request their officers. You can force them to return your core provinces, or return core provinces to the rightful owner. Seize their territory. This one is just beneficial for your subject. So they're going to get some increased institution growth, and you're going to spread any institutions that you've embraced into their land. You can siphon income. It's going to cost some liberty desire. Again, it's based off of how much income they get. This is also where you start the annexation process. We have not attempted to annex any of our subjects simply because we wouldn't have good control in any of those locations. So like over here in Lancaster or Durham, or Wales, our control wouldn't be fantastic. I think it's like 10 to 15 all around this area. So we're probably getting more money by not doing that. And there are penalties from annexation. It will basically irritate all your other subjects. So there's a cost to it. You can support any loyalists there. So basically this is going to give them the bonus with the embraced institutions, and they're going to get increased loyalty with you. But the cost of it is it's going to require you to devote some of your diplomats to it. So if you got a particularly rebellious vassal, this is one way to keep them in line at the cost of diplomats. And you can also support their military. So this will cost you army tradition, while it's going to grant them monthly experience and army tradition, or I guess it reduces the decay while reducing their diplomats. So a lot of different options that you can utilize in here. But the reason why we're coming in here for Durham is we're going to enable scutage or scutage. I've heard it pronounced both ways. So what this does is it makes them so they do not join any of your wars, but they'll have increased payment to you, so you'll get more money from them. With this being a bishop, I think it makes sense that we wouldn't have him go into our wars. And also, we've already seen that our subjects here have not really been all that helpful in these wars. Now, I don't want to stop all of them from joining, because when we fight Scotland, it would actually be helpful to have some of these vassals able to assist us in that. But with Durham, I could use the extra money. It's not going to make a huge impact here, because they don't really give us that much money. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys some of the different actions we can take and actually utilize that. I don't know if you guys saw that storm going across there. But because of it, we do have a modifier here due to wind damage. We've been having a lot of storms. Here in the British Isles, they have a lot of storms. If you've ever been there before, it rains a lot. We visited there, the United Kingdom, specifically London, a couple years ago. When we did our big European trip, we went to the United Kingdom, we went to Italy, and we went to Spain. I think we're going to integrate Rome and Flanders. So I was saving up that money in order to make our son, Edmund, the head of the cabinet. But you'll notice here that he is no longer part of the crown estate. He's joined the noble estate. So therefore, it'd be wise to change him out, because we're not getting the crown power we were getting, and we certainly wouldn't want to make him the head of the cabinet. So let's go ahead and change him, whoever our best crown character is, which would be Richard, our first cousin, who just recently came of age. He's not too bad. Let's see if there's anybody else we might want to put. We do have John as well, another one of our cousins, but I think he's probably the best choice. He's got the highest military skill as well. So yeah, we're going to go and appoint him instead. And then we're going to make him the head of the cabinet. This will cost us 300 ducats. And remember, we're going to get those benefits. Yeah, this will result in us having a lot more crown power. We're down to 24% right now. So when we let it go through the month, hopefully that will increase. Yeah, we're at 30%. So I think that's the highest that we've gotten it so far. So that's pretty solid, honestly. So we can now call a new parliament. I think we're going to go for something easy to pass, so one of the noble issues, and that's fund farming estates. So the bonuses we'll get while the issues being debated, these are helpful because you can expand farms for cheaper, but what we're really doing it for is the prosperity. It's going to affect many of our key cities, including London and Paris, and more prosperity is always helpful. And whichever RGO they have there, so in Paris it's wine farms, in London it's wheat farms, they'll be able to employ 1,000 more laborers. So yeah, we're going to go and work on this one. This should be pretty easy for us to pass, and we won't have to give in to any of these agendas. We don't need to do the request for larger levies yet. We can't declare war on France again until 1369, so basically that'll be the next parliament that will want to ask for the larger levies. Because our next conflict, if you guys recall from the previous episode, we're going to be going to war here in Ireland. We just need to get the spy network up to 20 so that we can go ahead and fabricate a CB. It will not be necessary to get the additional levies in order to fight them. They should be fairly easy. They don't have, many troops of their own, and last time we looked, they didn't have any allies. They do have all their subjects, of course, but no alliance. So we have plenty of support, and we can easily pass this. So we could just go with this option, but this one really doesn't cost very much money, so I'm fine with doing it, because you never know. Maybe we'll get some event that'll give us a bunch more support, in which case we could always, do one of these. We could fabricate a Casus Belli, that would be an option as well, but we're just going to do it through the spy. But if we had increased support, then we'd probably do the additional taxes to get a little bit more money. Eleanor, who is our cousin, just came of age, and we've got some money that we can invest into our economy. So the first thing we're going to do here, guys, is we need to get some marketplaces in Paris, because as we saw last episode, we're making a lot of money from this market. However, you'll notice that it's not lit up here, even though we could build a marketplace here. And so it's one of these three things here. We know that there are available levels, or else we wouldn't even be able to build this. So it must be that they are not under the building limit, so they've reached the limit of buildings that they can have, or they don't have any available peasants. So let's take a look at the situation in Paris, because we got control of this a while ago and we haven't really looked at it. So for instance, the prosperity is really low here. That's to be expected due to the siege that we did there and how long they were occupied. And of course, they were put under siege in the last war multiple times as well. So yeah, they're having some prosperity issues, as to be expected. Here's the building levels, and you can see that they're definitely under the limits. They're at 29.7, while they can have 143 building levels, so that's certainly not the issue. And also, they have plenty of peasants available for employment as well. So neither one of those are the issue. And we already know that the marketplace limit isn't the problem either. They can have up to 15, they only have 2. So I'm not entirely sure why they're not being lit up as an option for construction. Oh, it's because I'm a dummy. We're looking at the London markets rather than looking at, all the markets. So we don't want to only be looking at the London market. But it was probably good that we went and took a look at Paris, since we hadn't done so yet. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and build maybe like 3 markets here in Paris. I think that would be helpful. Obviously, they won't be able to build those at the same time, but they'll slowly get that done. And let's see what other buildings we might want to construct just based on income. We could do a distiller's guild. Looks like those would be profitable. So Bordeaux is the one that would make us all that money, and we don't directly control that, so I don't think we're going to build there. And we're not doing the Jewelers Guild, so I suppose we're going back into the Tailors Guild. Get one of those for London and the Tools Guild. Maybe do one more, because they seem to be pretty profitable. And I think that's probably it. Let's go to the RGOs. There's something I wanted to discuss that was asked about in the comments, and that's the available laborers. So you may have noticed that I've been constructing in RGOs where we do have a shortage of laborers. If there's nobody there to work the building, then you don't get the benefits. Now, I don't really pay too much attention to that, honestly, unless it gets really, really bad. I'd say like the 4,000 I think that it had gotten to, that's close to really bad, but still not enough to stop me from constructing there. What I really pay attention to is the available peasants. I basically consider this on the long term, because the available peasants, as long as there's somebody there to promote, they will. Now, promotion I think is fairly quick, again, if you're looking at this on the long term, and you shouldn't just consider promotion because there's also migration. If there's jobs in the location, then it makes it more likely that pops will migrate to it. So it's actually going to be much quicker than what you'll see up here, which this is really handy that they have this. In the RGO's missing employees, it'll show you how many months, just based on promotion, it would take to fulfill the job requirements. So if we looked at our horses RGO that we've been building in as much as we can, since it's the most profitable one, it would take 66 months if we relied completely on promotion in order to fulfill those jobs. Now, in my opinion, given that this is a game that goes over the course of 500 years, that's not really that long. But remember, it's not going to take as long as that. We saw that already. We were at a 4,000 something shortage, and we got to 1,500. It's higher now because we did just construct another level, but we got to 1,500 in like 2.5 or 3 years. So when you count both promotion and migration, that does fulfill those jobs really quickly. So I don't really consider the available laborers too much. If you want to be completely efficient, then I guess that's one thing to do. Make sure that you don't allow this number to get too high, but I basically just consider the peasants. As long as there's peasants there to promote, because you don't want to rely solely on migration. The only way to fulfill these jobs rapidly is with a combination of migration and promotion. So as long as there's available peasants there, I will construct in that location, since eventually it'll become, the most profitable option, since I build it based on profit. But again, if you want to be more efficient, then maybe not build in this location. But again, I don't care if it's a little less efficient. In the long run, eventually those jobs will be fulfilled. Richard Percy just came of age, and we're just gonna arrange a marriage between him and Eleanor of Lancaster, sure. I've been trying to marry these characters as they come of age, because otherwise I just won't get it done. Like I said, you do want to arrange those marriages as time consuming as it sometimes can be, just so you have more children, more characters in your court, more options for cabinet members and generals and whatever else you might need a character for. We had a holy relic discovered, so we can say it belongs in a museum, and we'll get a masterpiece regalia in London and move towards humanist, or burn it as heresy, get some religious influence, increase the state satisfaction for the clergy, and become more spiritualist. Now we're gonna go for this. Try and get some more art. Since we're not really producing art on our own, we haven't been investing in it. It's just kind of expensive. When I was constructing, we should have took advantage of that reduced cost of any of the farming RGOs. That would have been a little bit cheaper. But it's fine, we got this pass. That means we got increased prosperity, which we were just looking at Paris, and they definitely needed it. So we're going to take a look at Paris and London and see what their current prosperity is. But first, let's go and arrange a marriage for Deborah. She's going to marry a Percy. Man, there's a lot of Percys in our country, isn't there? All right, so taking a look at London's prosperity, 66.81%. Prosperity is super important. Increases that migration attraction, the development, population growth, and character life expectancy. So definitely something you want to have high in your capital. And then development is a more long-term value, because prosperity changes a lot. Development's a more long-term value. It is thus even more important than prosperity, but prosperity increases development. But it takes a long time to get development up high, and these are all the many benefits you get from it. but very significant. So looking at London, pretty good prosperity right now. And it seems that Paris has gotten a little bit better. It's still in the negative, but that 15% has certainly helped them out. But currently they're getting penalties. Remember, we do have that one cabinet action that we can do to try and improve negative prosperity. But I don't think we care enough about Paris to actually use that when we have all these other tasks that we're currently working on. So we got Mary here. She needs marriage. And I'm basically just marrying the youngest folks to each other. Spy network's currently at 13, so a bit more to go. And we do have some money to spend. RGOs are getting, so they're not quite as profitable as they were, but still a bit more profitable than our other buildings. So we're going to continue to construct those. Well, I guess we shouldn't have constructed that one in London, now that I think about it. We just got that food production. That's really helpful. Since London, there are buildings that are far more profitable, but having more food in the capital would be helpful for growth. Now, we're very close to having max legitimacy here, so we're not going to go for this. Let's increase the prosperity in York, since we've just seen how helpful prosperity is. I just mentioned my time in London. We were only there for 3 days, so I was not there all that long. So just want to make that clear. We didn't spend much time there. Most of our time in Europe, as you know, I told you we're in 3 countries. We're in the United Kingdom, we're in Spain, and we're in Italy. And most of our time in Europe was spent in Italy. We spent a lot more time there. It's really where I wanted to see the most. But we flew into London, then we went to Italy. Again, we were there for most of our time in Europe. And then went to Spain. And from Spain, specifically Barcelona, well, we've seen this event before. It's a really negative one overall. It's very expensive. So if you take this option, you're going to lose stability and you're going to piss off the burghers. Or you can spend a bunch of money to make them really happy or to get legitimacy. I guess because we have the money, we'll go for this, but I'm not happy that we got that event again. But yeah, we left from Barcelona and then we sailed through the Mediterranean because we did not leave Europe by plane. We went by a cruise ship. We did a transatlantic cruise. So we left from Barcelona through the Straits of Gibraltar and across the Atlantic. And then we stopped in the Azores, Portugal. So with this Divine Revelations, we can go back towards Spiritualists or get that legitimacy, which, we're already sitting almost at max at this point, to go towards Humanists. We'll just go with that one. Let's get some more things constructing here. We're at 22, so we're going to do this, and then I guess we're ready to start trying to get our CB, since that takes time as well. But let's get, we'll do that first. Yeah, just so I don't forget, I might end up starting playing and forgetting that we need to do this. This is actually in the hostile action, so we want to create a Casus Belli. You can see that's going to cost us 20 from our spy network. And there's only one option that is currently applicable. We can't do any of these. We can only do the make a tributary. Well, I guess the point here is just to be able to declare war. So we'll get that started, and it's going to take us a while. We're at 5.06%. That's why I wanted to make sure we got that started, since, it takes time. And I'd like to get this war done and finished before we're ready to declare war against the French in what would be 1369, but I guess we got to wait until we get that parliament done. So I suppose it's going to be 1370 will be the next war against France. I suppose we'll continue building the Tailors Guild, though London is not on here. Did we max them out already? We might have. So you know what? That's where I really want to build is London. So instead, we'll have to get something else. They still definitely have workers here. You can make good money from this. So yeah, we'll build the Carpenters Guild in London. Also get the Papermakers Guild. And we could always use more books. And then our wineries. Yarmouth is not very profitable anymore. Yeah, I guess we'll go and max them out, even if that one's not gonna. You still get the wine from it. And then we'll do a Spinners Guild, which we do not want to do this in London. We already got enough stuff building there. These libraries are actually one way to increase the pop promotion speed. Yeah, very helpful in any cities that you're building in often. So like we'll build one right there, I suppose. And it just has all those other benefits as well. So let's get some more marketplaces here in Paris. And, you know, we're gonna get one in London as well. We make good money in the London market. And unfortunately, one of our counselors just died, so we need to get them replaced. A new cabinet member. And remember, this is the one that's focused on military skill. We don't want somebody really old, because then we just gotta do this again. We could always do Sir Thomas, our cousin. He's 24 years old. Military ability is pretty solid. So yeah, we'll go ahead and put him into the cabinet so he can continue to integrate Roman Flanders. Yeah, I was talking about my trip to Europe, but yeah, that was a couple years ago, guys. We used the funds that we had from selling our house in Colorado, coming here to Kansas, which is a much cheaper housing market. The main reason why we came here. It is Kansas, though, so if you don't know about Kansas, then you won't know what I mean by that. But yeah, Colorado was beautiful, while Kansas is Kansas. So we got our Casus Belli. So it didn't take that long to get it. We're here in 1367. Do we want to declare war in October, though, or do we want to just wait until the end of winter? So we're going to get ourselves some more RGOs. You can see that we have been maxing out on many of those, so not making quite as much as we were. We're now really focusing on wool, so we're getting a lot of wool locations, but also some other resources that we haven't seen as much of, just weren't as profitable as some of those top ones like the horses. But yeah, a lot of wool, guys. But you know what, we're going to move down here and get some timber, because remember, that one's always helpful to get more of. In fact, we're going to build in a few timber locations. So yeah, I think we'll wait until the end of winter, or maybe in March. There's not really any hurry here. We got plenty of time before our war against France. And the CB lasts until 1372, so you don't have to worry about that expiring anytime soon. And before we start this war, let's get some more construction started up. So we worked on decreasing the cost of timber. Let's also do masonry, since that's even more important when it comes to determining the cost of buildings. And we're not going to make a lot of money wherever we build these. This is really just about reducing the cost of our buildings a little bit. So we'll get a few of those constructed, because we're building a lot and often, because our economy is really starting to take off here. We're earning pretty good money overall. So that's all we can get. It's just that one RGO. All right, so we are ready to declare war. So you'll see that nobody else is getting involved in this, and we're gonna make them a tributary. I'm fine with doing that. Honestly, the best thing to do would be to conquer them and give that territory to the Pale. But as long as they're paying us, that's what matters. So we need to get all of our troops raised up, or I say all of, which is something we did for our wars against France. We raised every levy we had, but obviously that's not something we're going to want to do in this war. That wouldn't make any sense. We're just not going to need as many. And since it does hurt whatever areas you raise them out of, I don't think we should raise them in any of our really important locations, such as in London here, the capital province. Instead, we'll just raise them. I mean, we're not going to get much over here. Yeah, we're going to raise them all throughout here. The north. Whatever troops we can get. I'm thinking like 10,000 total should be enough. That's really what I'm just basing this off of. And we don't care if we Cornwall, we're not going to get much from that area either. So I think that's pretty solid. Yeah, right there. So that's good. And we're not hurting any of our, really important economic regions. So like over here in East Anglia, or, in London, the capital province. We don't need to go this slow, though, so we can speed that up a little bit. And look at our economy. You see that we're not even doing full taxes here. And we're making pretty good money overall. Now, we're not going to use our main army because manpower is an issue. We're trying to raise that up as much as we can. We don't earn much. Until we get armories, manpower is going to continue to be an issue. Now, I don't know if we'll actually need to raise up the naval levies. Send all these troops over here. And we'll just go across this way. So I'll bring all those over there, and the one here in London, we're going to keep them there since we don't want to use up any of that manpower. I suppose we should probably raise up some naval levies so I don't have to shuttle these guys across in multiple trips. We shouldn't raise them all up though. I don't think that's going to be necessary. And again, try and stay out of these regions here that are really important. Although just those two there do not give us much of a fleet. Alright, so we have our 2 armies. We just need to appoint their commanders. And this Sir Edmund guy is pretty solid, but his military skill is a little low. I think King Edward is still the best option for leading our troops. So he'll lead this army, and then this one, I guess, would be led by Sir Edmund because he's got the great administrative ability. And this is going to be largely a sieging army. And we can bring both of these armies at the same time. They're not too expensive when it comes to their embark cost. And while our regular fleet, I don't think would have been quite enough, probably didn't need this many levies. Alright, so let's go and land. Obviously, they don't have very many troops. So I did raise up, 10,000, a little bit more than that. So we don't need this many, but we do have to do sieges and stuff. I don't know how many forts they have. But yeah, having more troops is just going to make this easier. So let's chase down those guys. Well, this army's going to go after this capital location here. So trying to chase their army down. So yeah, all the battles here are really small. Let's go and get these guys defeated. The Irish do not produce that many troops. So that'll allow us to easily get that victory. And then I guess it's just a matter, I'm not even seeing, I thought they'd have forts, but yeah, they don't even have fortifications. So this is just going to be a matter of sieging down each of these locations, the province capitals. So obviously this is like an extreme overkill with the number of troops that we have brought here. But it'll make it easy, I guess. I mean, really, you could split these up even further to speed this process up because you don't need 4,000 or 6,000 troops here. We did just increase the recruitment speed. So we're getting those techs knocked out. The next one is the ability to drill our army. So that'll be helpful. So we got them fully occupied, and we can go ahead and wrap up this conflict. So you notice we cannot seize control of any of their provinces because of the war goal that we used, which I'm absolutely fine with. We knew that was going to be the case. We can force them to be a tributary. This does cause some antagonism. But yeah, it's going to result in them paying us money, and that's what the war goal was for, so that's what we're going to do. We can also force them to release these states here, or we can liberate subjects from them, force them to annul treaties. We're not doing any of those. We will do war reparations. I think that will stack on top of them being a tributary, so that means they'll have to give us even more money. And since we got the extra points, we can humiliate them as well. That'll get us that 5 prestige, and then we'll get whatever money they have, which is not much. So let's go and force that on them. They can't refuse without taking the stability loss there. So let's go and disband our levies. Could do that the way we've been doing it with this button here. Of course, there's another way to do it. You can also do it through here and just disband all levies. One thing I'm questionable about doing, why I've never actually attempted to do it, is it'll state the entire army or fleet that you have. So we have 21 ships. And so I'm just worried that if you click this, then it would result in it disbanding the entire fleet. That's why I don't use it for that. Instead, I make sure that I detach the levies. And since you have to go in here anyway to detach the levies, it just feels quicker to disband them this way. Hence why this is the way I generally do it. But there is that option as well. Let's get our fleet moved back over here since we don't need to transport any troops. That's one benefit of us keeping the footmen over here. And unfortunately, the tributary state does not get the color of the overlord. Now, we are considered their overlord, but yeah, it's not like a permanent relationship. So we're just getting the money from them. They're not colored us, so we eventually need to fix that. But for right now, we're getting the money. Show you exactly what we're getting from this relationship. So we're getting the war reparations, which is 0.10, and then we're getting 0.21 from their tributary status. They are disloyal subjects, so we're not getting the full payment, so we'd have to increase relations with them if we wanted to make sure we got the 100% payment from them, because you see that they are currently disloyal. I don't think it's worth to invest in proving their opinion right now. This is a port region, so we just don't make a lot of money, but our total diplomacy income is significant. A lot of that is from the war reparations from France, but Normandy is also a very profitable subject to have, as is Aquitaine. That's where we're making the majority of our subject income from. is Normandy, Aquitaine, and from the war reparations from France. I've been wanting to invest in a town here, and I think Exeter makes the most sense. They have the highest population in the region, which isn't very high at only 13,715, so it'd probably make more sense to build a town somewhere else. But yeah, I want a town in this region because it's kind of far to the closest towns. So yeah, we're gonna put a town right here, and that's gonna cost us a total of 435. So we'll need to save up a little bit more money, about a month, though probably 2 months, because before we build that town, there's one thing I wanted to get here. You know, I talked about it several episodes ago, showed you the bailiff, but we didn't actually construct one to get a local proximity source here. So let's go and do that. Now, there'll be other ways for us to get proximity that will unlock in the tech tree. We need to get this character married. Starting to run out of young males. They're all kind of a little bit older here, in their 30s. Alright, so we have the money. Let's go ahead and make a new town. It's going to cost 424. You know, that takes time for them to complete. Full year. And now the choice between research progress and stability, we're going to choose research progress. We got a lot of text to research. This is going to get us that drill army, but yeah, we really need the armories. I was hoping to have that in time for the war against France, but I don't know that we will. Because we're talking about going to war with them next year, because we're able to do the Parliament this year. I don't recall exactly when this year, but I think it's towards the end of the year. Sir Henry Percy just died at 48 years old. And France just joined this coalition against us. So there's a lot of members in the coalition. I think they weren't able to join until after that truce expired. That's the reason why they hadn't been a part of it just yet. And so I think by declaring war, this might result in us going to war against the entire coalition. Just kind of double check this. I feel like that's the case though. Yeah, that you'll pull in everybody that's in the coalition. Now, these are not really powerful countries. I mean, we got some banks. I mean, doesn't make them significantly more powerful, but it is something to consider. I forgot to put this fleet on their task here. So that when we do go to war, there's going to be more countries involved. I don't know how much of a role they'll play, but yeah, that's not going to stop us from going to war, though, because France needs to be conquered. So we're now able to drill our army. We're going to change up who's leading the Royal Army. Put the king in charge. I mean, he's getting a bit old for leading troops, but that's okay. So let's go and start the drilling of our troops. This is going to increase their monthly experience gain and also going to cost us increased army maintenance. And remember, the experience reduces the damage that you take in combat. We can now call our parliament, so let's go ahead and do that. And remember, we need something that starts with a lot of support. Probably do the promote integration process, since even if we fail this, we still get the advantage of the speed of integration, which we're currently integrating on one location, which is almost done. So we start another one right after that. The other option would be sponsor the noble arts, but yeah, we're gonna go with this one. So this one, take a look at our parliament. We're sitting at 70% support. We know we're going to ask for the larger levies. So that'll give us those additional levies for 3 years. And I'm wondering if we can get back up to 50%, because it would be really nice if we could fabricate a casus belli through here, rather than having to do it through our spy network. You know, it takes time, and we're also limited what type of CBs we can get. Obviously the one in Ireland was not the most desirable one for us to make use of. So the bellicose support will result in more antagonism, but it's the only one I could see enacting. It's the only one that's going to give us the amount of support that we're going to need if we can get another thing passed, which, yeah, I guess we're going to have to do this agenda too, constant stability. And of course, these are irritating, the clergy and the burghers, but that gets us up to 57% so that we could fabricate the CB. We want to do this on France. And the war goal, let's see where we want to claim. You know, I kind of want a place that's fortified, so it can't just be easily taken again. So let's take a look. I know there's a fort here. There's also this one right here. I think it does make the most sense to get a fortified location, particularly one that's close to our territory. So I think this is the one we should do, guys. So yeah, let's go ahead and fabricate that CB for this location here. And so that means we're probably not going to be able to actually pass this in order to get the further integration of Harris. That's okay, because we do not want the reduced levy obligations for the nobility, and we're not going to do any of these other ones. So we'll just have to take the stability loss for not being able to get that passed, but we do still get the bonus to the integration. Not ready to declare war just yet anyways. And you know what? Let's go ahead and spend our money. I guess we'll get some additional marketplaces that do result in us earning a lot of extra money. We get this up to, I don't know, I guess 8. 8's good. Maybe up to 5 over there in London. And let's see what we can make a good profit from. Oh, so we're earning a lot less than we have been. Okay, so not as many good options here. But we'll get some stuff built in London with that Papermakers Guild. And you know what, we're going to build this somewhere else. I guess we'll take a look at the RGOs, see if they could earn us a bit more. I mean, slightly better. I guess we're investing in London, just the RGOs in London. And I think that's it. All right, excellent. So we're going to wait until some point next year. Well, let me take that back. It seems that the coalition is actually going to declare war on us. Well, that's interesting. So taking a look at the coalition war, you'll see, you know, France is involved in that conflict. And it's a shame we didn't have any allies. With this being a defensive war, they would have supported us. But this does mean that the war goal is going to be easier to achieve. It's just to protect our capital. That's all we have to do here. And we can still take stuff in the treaty. It's just kind of a shame, because I would prefer to, you know, use the war goal that we actually work towards, because this is going to result in a truce with France. So that means that by the time this war ends, we would lose the Parliament Approved Claims on Province CB, since that's in 1374. Alright, so let's go ahead, take a look at our balance. See, they've already raised all this for us. See if we want to make any other adjustments. We're going to increase taxes just a little bit, because always could use a bit more money than we're paying for our military. We still don't have the armories, so won't be able to get any additional troops, you know, regular army troops. We'll just have to raise the levies we have, which is 39,817. So let's get all those raised up. Also raise up our naval levies. Alright guys, so we finally have our armies assembled. Just need to move them both over here. Should we just transport them both over to the continent? Probably going to want to put one down here. Might need to bring them both down there. That's where the majority of the armies seem to be at the moment. And then just let the Normans defend this territory for us. We are being sieged over here, but this is not an actual fortification, and it's isolated from the rest of our territory. There's really not any way to properly defend that. So unfortunately, we won't be able to actually fight this war in today's episode. We're going to get all of our troops into the area. Looks like we engaged in a little naval battle there before we end the video. But yeah, we will not be able to actually fight the entire thing out, which, just looking at the troop numbers, I don't know if we saw that yet. They have 65,000. We've already killed 1,700 of them. We also have 65,000. So this is the first time that we had the same amount of troops. Again, if you're counting all of our vassals, which many of these will not assist us outside of defending our territory. At least that's what we hope will happen. It looks like we will be facing comparably sized fleets now. We've been neglecting our fleet, and that probably hasn't been wise. We should probably build a few ships up once we get the money. However, before we end the episode, we will do this one battle against this 14,000 man army, since this will be probably one of the larger conflicts we engage in. So this army gets there on the 23rd of January 1600. The Royal Army will arrive on the 22nd of January 1700. Just wanted to make sure that the Royal Army was getting there first, since they were the larger of the two, and that's the one our king is commanding. So you see, we do have the discipline bonus, the military tactics, and the morale. So everything looking pretty good, on top of the fact we got the numbers. And they'll have the negative die roll. Yeah, they got 2 negatives here. So this should be a fairly easy battle overall. And it's got another character we need to marry off. So we killed 4,200 of theirs, losing less than 1,000 of our own. So not too bad at all. Looks like this dispenser is the youngest. So we're currently winning the war at 13% war score. They have 2 sieges going on right now. So a siege in Paris and also sieging over here. So yeah, we need to get those relieved. It's one large army and one smaller army. Normandy should be able to deal with this one, but obviously they would not be able to deal with this army that's being led by Flanders. And we'll probably do a similar tactic to what we did in the last conflict, where we keep the smaller army here while the royal army will go back over to this area and start pushing forward. We'll have to obviously wipe out these 2 armies if Normandy hasn't dealt with them yet, and then we'll start doing sieges, and we'll also be taking out any enemy armies that come into the area. But yeah, looking pretty good, guys, here when it comes to our overall military strength, but a little concerned about their naval strength. Yeah, we'll try and just push each member out. Maybe focus on taking out some of the subject states so we can do the separate peace treaties. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy today's episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. I do hope to see you on the next one, and thanks for watching.